This is episode 63.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back with myself, Thomas.
And myself, Stephen.
And today we've got a introduction to what's coming on at the Barcelona Grow Show.
March 11th, 12th and 13th. What are we talking about?
Basically, today, this is something that I actually love. So that's why I done the introduction today. This is a show that I look forward to personally all year round. It's once a year. It's based in Barcelona. It's a Grow Expo. It does move across Europe. We've mentioned some other places in the past, but what we're talking about is this show, and we will be attending, the full team, and it's in CANNA.
Yeah, Fira de Canela.
Oh, very nice, Stephen.
Did you like that? I probably just
to any of our Spanish, Spanish listeners, I do apologise for that if he's just said something
really rude or offended the whole Spanish population.
Yeah. So,
apologies.
But it was a good try anyway, Steve.
Okay, well, we'll be talking about Barcelona and what to expect. The exhibitors, the sponsors, what we'll be doing.
Who's there, what's going on, why, what, when, where, why, about.
So, Barcelona,
Spain.
Important thing, 11th, 12th, 13th of March, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You must have tickets to get in.
It's a public event as well.
It's a public event, yeah. All 3 days public events.
Yeah, they are.
First of all, the food is phenomenal.
Fabulous.
I always treat Karen from CANNA. I always get her these curled pastries dipped in chocolate and sugar. They are
what are they
amazing. Churros.
Yeah.
Lovely they are. She loves them.
It's a great show. Weather's normally nice temperature.
Bit shit last year, wasn't it? It rained, didn't it?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Actually, didn't it?
Yeah, it was in Barcelona. Rained for 2 days, and I only got a message from the missus saying, "Oh, it's lovely and sunny here."
It's always the way.
You go to Barcelona and bloody England's got the nice weather.
Well, this show, basically, we've got the Barcelona Grow Expo. We've got a lot of people there. I've got, in front of me, I've actually got the floor plan map of the show, and it's quite large.
It is massive.
As always.
What's the biggest number you can see on that page? I can see 158. No, 180. 194. 194 exhibitors.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a lot of our pals there. I'm going to name a few. So on plot number 89, we've got Lumatex. 73, we've got Plagron. 91, we've got Secret Garden. 46, Smart Pots. 187, Spectrum King. 24, Trim Pro. Easy Grower 22. 97 is AutoPot. Where's our pals at Highlight?
Next page.
Oh, I've only got 2 pages. Hold on a second.
They're on there somewhere.
Well,
they are number 5.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Number 5.
Look, that's off the top of my head. I bet you've remembered that.
Well, the reason why I wanted to highlight that to everybody, because that's where we will be.
Yeah.
Invading the Highlight stand, thanks to Dave.
Yeah, Highlight takeover.
Yeah. Letting us, basically, as usual, turn up with all our recording equipment.
Based ourselves at the Highlight stand.
Yeah.
So, if you have been invited onto the podcast,
yeah,
that is where we will be. Stand 5, Highlight Horticulture. Now, last year, you may have remembered, if you've been listening for a little while, or you've joined us and happened to have skipped back and listened to the Barcelona interviews from last year, we had quite a few people on there. That was because those people were our friends and they were people that we dealt with, and we liked every single person that we interviewed. But now, we're going to have fewer interviews because we are picking our interview.
Nitpicking.
Yeah. We're going to have the
cream of the crop.
Yeah, and if they're not the cream of the crop, one of the interviews, I'll let you into one of them, is Remo.
Okay.
Remo's Nutrients.
A pal of mine.
Yeah, good friend.
Yeah.
Very well known around the world.
Yeah.
Now, I won't say he's cream of the crop in regards to his nutrients, because
we don't know yet.
We don't know. We haven't used them.
Sorry, Remo, but we haven't tested them yet. But don't worry, mate. When I see you in Spain in about
15 days.
15 days' time, I'm going to sting you, Remo, because for a nice selection of free nutrients from my pal, so that we can bring it back to the UK and test its ass.
And see what it's saying.
Yeah, because I know in America, Remo...
Very well respected.
Very well respected.
Yeah.
Does some amazing videos and stuff like
He's
that.
He's probably well known for his videos, isn't he?
Yeah.
His YouTube videos and his characteristic pointing of the finger.
Yeah, the finger point, the Remo,
ring,
and his sunglasses. Well, I'm also sporting a new pair of custom Oakleys.
They are nice.
Yeah, well, these are especially for Spannabis, so I can just chillax there and see what's going on. And
as we know, the sun's very bright.
Yeah,
so
the sun is very bright inside this show, so that's why I'll be wearing my sunglasses.
Of course, to protect your eyes from all those high pressure sodium bulbs as well.
Yeah,
that's the reason.
Oh yeah, I haven't finished my list.
Oh, go on then, carry on.
Otherwise they'll be made that if I don't finish the list and forget all of our other pals, they'll be saying, "Oh, you never mentioned me." So we've got Growth Tech on stand 106, Growth Technology on 55, Highlight Horticulture where we're based on number 5, Homebox on 107, Hydro Garden on 150. CANNA you won't be able to miss because they just take over the show, don't they?
They anyway, look like they've got...
as well as Dutch Pro.
Yeah, what's the number? Is it 66?
Yeah, 66. Oh, no, Dutch Pro are not exhibiting.
No, Dutch Pro won't be exhibiting this year, no.
But nevertheless, they rule the roost at the AutoPot show anyway, don't they? Yeah. With their big TPs and stuff. So, anyway, but the guys are there and we will be drinking some cerveza.
Cerveza. Dos cervezas, por favor.
Gracias. As you can see, I'm very fluent on my Spanish. I've been doing very well on saying hello.
Yeah.
Hola.
Well, I said to you on the car journey on the way up here, I'm always excited for Barcelona, but I'm especially excited because this is the first year I've noticed the World Cannabis Conferences.
It's a bit of a... Are we allowed to speak about conferences? Is the SAS going to come in and arrest us?
You've just glared at me. No, you haven't. Yeah, well, it's going into Barcelona.
So what is it? What is it about, Steve? Is it
the reason
scientific?
The reason I'm excited, as you all know, I proper nerd out.
Yeah, so if Stephen's excited, it's something to do with either lecture halls or reading very large books that the words are really difficult to understand.
Yeah, I've spent lots of time in a dictionary as well.
Yeah.
No, it's the scientific block. There's 4 people going to be giving talks on Saturday between 3:30 and 7:30. And I just wanted to give them a shout out because they're leading the way. Although what we talk about over the next 10, 15, 20 minutes is currently illegal in the UK, we have a worldwide subscribership, we have worldwide listeners, so I think it's fair just to include them.
Too right.
And obviously my beliefs, I do believe it should be...
Well, it's 2016, Stephen.
It should be...
You know, we are allowed to discuss scientific topics and what is going on in our planet.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a little bit later about the conference that we were at on Tuesday.
Very interesting.
With Dr. Nutt.
David Nutt.
Yeah. We'll talk about
and that was on
bits
the
about more of that later.
Drug and alcohol policies.
And how science should lead the way with those policies.
Yeah.
But we'll talk more about that in a bit later. So yeah, also, if my sources are to be believed, Australia recently made it legal for medicinal use as well.
Yeah, that's cannabis, that is.
That is cannabis, yeah.
Right.
So more and more countries seem to be changing or listening to what the science is saying.
It's a very
touchy subject.
Yeah, touchy subject.
In the UK,
an
anyway.
Exciting era, what we're going through right now. It's good to see what's going on. And as we say, we're going to this show, and there's 4 seminars on.
Well, there's quite a few seminars. We're going to discuss them all. I'm going to nerd out and talk about the scientific block because I will be missing between 3:30 and 5:30 on
what
Saturday.
Are they based on, those seminars?
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about them now. We have Jose Carlos Busso, and apologies if I pronounce your name wrong. He's the moderator. Jose is a clinical psychologist and has a PhD in pharmacology, and he's based his studies around the long-term effects of substances such as cannabis and cocaine and something called ayahuasca, which I'm not sure what that is, and neither have I. The acute effects of different drugs of natural and synthetic origin. He's also done a bit of research on the therapeutic uses of MDMA. Not something I know about, not something I'm going to give my opinion on.
No.
I'm just going to leave that there. But he's the director of scientific project at ICEERS Foundation. probably a very interesting person to get talking to. So the first speaker is Javier Nadal. I hope I pronounced that right as well. Javier has got a degree in biology from the University of Barcelona, a diploma in advanced studies in pharmacology, and a PhD in health sciences and life from the University Pompeu Fabra. The work of his doctoral thesis was on the involvement of endogenous opioid and cannabinoid system in the regulation of neuropathic pain. So I imagine that's going to be quite an interesting talk as well. Next is Matthias Bosong. He's got a PhD, and the thesis of his PhD was the role of the endocannabinoid system in human brain functions relevant for psychiatric disorders. He'd done that in January 2012. After his PhD...
So to me that sounds like he's researching whether using cannabis makes you a psychopath.
Yeah, no.
Makes you lose your marbles.
Yeah, or that's it. I think the main one is schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia, that's it. Yeah.
Lose your marbles. Politically correct show at NPK Live.
Okay.
Matthias also acquired a fellowship which enabled him to work at the Institute of Psychiatry at King's College London for 3 years. Very prestigious university.
Is that like a gang of people? Like in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah. Essentially, yeah, Fellowship
like
of the Ring.
Of people.
Yeah, coming together to study the effects.
Study their task. Yeah, okay.
Sorry about me slurping. I always get made a lovely coffee by
Rick.
It is
lovely coffee that we've just been past right now.
So hold the phone.
Lovely.
Moisten the vocal cords.
Yeah.
The last one is Erica van Hel. Erica finished her PhD in Utrecht in the Netherlands on the effect of THC on reward and impulsivity, and she's been interested in the effects of cannabinoids on the brain during rest or during sleep. And in 2013 she started her postdoctorate at Nadia Solwigi's group in Wollongong. It doesn't make this easy for me, do they? All these mad words. Wollongong in Australia, where she worked on a trial combining THC and CBD in a high and a low dose and investigating the effects on brain at rest using EEG and MRI.
Well, one thing I know is we've seen a lot of studies going on lately and a lot of different laws passed in a lot of different countries, and the main thing around all of this is medicine.
Yeah, that's essentially what people... The whole following for legalisation is so that people can have a medicine that they feel works for them.
Yeah. I especially after going to the conference we went to the other night with Dr. David Nutt on the drug and alcohol policies, it was very interesting to hear him speak and what he was talking about and how he was ostracised out of his
in his little circle of friends and, his role in the government as well. His
colleagues, by everybody who was around him at the moment, because his factual data didn't coincide with what
the politicians wanted to spread the message of.
So basically they struck this guy off. Now this guy...
And lied to the public.
Yeah. Now, that's quite a very scary concept, but it's something that we all hear every day in our life, of conspiracy this and conspiracy that, but, you know... It's getting a bit ridiculous when you've got people who have very high educational value, doctors and PhD holders and people that I can't sit in the same room with unless they're giving me a lecture, basically. Now, these people have dedicated their lives, I think he said 30 years?
Yeah, 30 years.
Yeah, well, I'm only 34 years of age. So... he's been researching what he's been doing
for as long as
I've been alive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then you've got these puppets who tell us what to do. The politicians who control everything what goes on in our society. Basically.
In inverted commas, these elected representatives of our country.
Yeah.
They just seem to ignore science. That's the feeling I've been getting.
And when you're sitting in a lecture room by a very accredited, really amazing person to listen to and see some factual data, you know, it's quite scary, to be honest. Yeah.
The main thing was that shocked me. I already knew this, but just to see it in statistical form up on that presentation was the effect of alcohol on people. Now, this is a fact that he presented to us. I'm going to present it to yourselves. That if alcohol was discovered today by you or by me or by Thomas, and it went through the same regulations as any newly founded drug or substance is today, the maximum dose or the level before toxicity in 1 year is a half a glass of wine.
That's in food, he stated.
In food?
Yeah.
As a food product, yeah.
So if you put it into the market as a food product,
available for consumption by the general public, you will be only allowed to buy half a glass of wine a year.
1 year, because it's that toxic.
Just let that sink in for a second. I know a lot of people, including myself, easily can have a couple of bottles over a weekend.
That he said some really obvious ones. The fact that alcohol kills majority of people on the planet.
Alcohol and tobacco.
Alcohol and tobacco. Massive
killers of people around the world, and yet you see them promoted everywhere.
Yeah.
The drinks companies lobby for
it. I'm sitting here, funny enough, and I've got this funny grin on my face because I get this grin on my face because I think it's a nervous grin because I get that annoyed of something that we're all just stuck into. And it's just so obvious, and it annoys me personally because a lot of people who do or do not know me, I'll tell you a few home secrets about myself. I grew up, my parents, alcoholics, amazing people, and are still alive to this day, still consume a large amount of alcohol, but it's really difficult when I have somebody who has an opinion based on something that they may or may not have read. Because I know what it's like to live around an alcoholic. I grew up with it. So when people tell me, like, especially when we looked at Dr. David Nutt's statistics about cannabis, he brought up cannabis. How many people die from cannabis?
He didn't have a single person die from cannabis.
And then you have politicians who are basically creating laws, and cannabis is smoking by a large amount of the population now, isn't it?
He showed the statistic of the increase of cannabis consumption,
and also the increase as well of how many people have been arrested for possession of cannabis.
Was it UK or was it? Yeah, it was UK as well, because it was drugs UK. Policy UK. Yeah, and the rise in consumption has gone up massively in the last 2 decades. Yeah, and that brings me on to an amazing point that. We won't stray too far off your point, Thomas, but I just want to get this in there because it's really relevant. So the epidemiological studies, which is basically we look at cause and effects, and we look at the effects of things over a long period of time. So what Dr. David Nutt has done is looked at the increased cannabis consumption. So the people out there that assume cannabis, because of what the politicians and what the media tells them, leads to an increase in schizophrenia or other mental disorders. So you would expect, with the increase in consumption of cannabis, for schizophrenia to also rise with that increase in consumption. That wasn't the case. In fact, what the data actually showed was, if anything, there was a decrease in cases of schizophrenia whilst cannabis consumption was rising. That's out there. If you want to go on, don't take my word for that, please. Do your own research yourself. Go on to Google Scholar, type in Google Scholar, and type in what I'm saying, and do the research yourself and have a look what's out there. Don't just take my word for it. But the statistics that I was shown on that day, on that Tuesday, showed that schizophrenia has absolutely stayed the same, whilst the rates of consumption of cannabis has gone through the roof.
And yet alone, alcohol is still the number one
killer in the UK.
But however, it's still readily available in supermarkets here, there and everywhere.
Do you know what? Funny enough, I was topping up my car with some
cannabis
petrol.
is so bad and so evil.
It is, and we'll talk a bit more about its inverted commas evilness in a minute, but just a little anecdote for you. I was filling up my car with petrol yesterday, petrol station. I was driving a car, and what did I buy for myself? Because I just fancied a couple of drinks in the evening. I had a hard day yesterday, fancied a couple of Corona. At the petrol station where you fill up your car with fuel, I bought myself 4 Coronas, and I got in the car and thought, that's really shit, isn't it? It's like we're all responsible adults, most of us anyway, and we should be able to do these things without cracking open a bottle on the way home. But temptation is there for people, isn't it?
Well,
you're driving
it's
a car.
funny about that. Not only that, it's like drink driving's illegal. However, it's legal to buy alcohol in a petrol station.
Yeah,
it's a bit backwards as well.
It's madness, isn't it?
But
and like
then,
you said,
but
you
then
can buy it
it all
everywhere.
comes down to how much money the government make from alcohol and stuff like that, and tobacco.
The tax on tobacco went up a couple of years ago, didn't it? So I don't know the figure off the top of my head, but I know it's something ridiculous, like a good few hundred. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was 1,000% tax on tobacco. They make a lot of money, and don't get me wrong, that money is probably spent on really good causes. A lot of that probably goes to the NHS. So we've got to look at the other side of the coin here as well. Try and not be too biased, because we do have our own opinions. Probably you can tell our opinions, how we come across and what we're talking about. But the tax from tobacco and from alcohol pays for a huge amount of services in the UK. Probably goes towards the NHS, funding research into anything that's going on to do with alcohol and tobacco and other drugs. So there is a good side to it as well. There's millions, if not billions of pounds from that created tax that pays for lots of stuff. So if we suddenly got rid of tobacco, suddenly got rid of alcohol, I imagine a lot of money would suddenly go missing because there's no more tax on it. But who really gives a shit about tax and money when you could save hundreds of thousands of lives every year? It just seems a bit crazy to me that you could literally ban tobacco, and you could make tobacco illegal, you could make smoking illegal, and you could save hundreds of thousands of lives every year.
It's just like,
it's completely backward thinking.
No-brainer. I know. Yeah. It's just like,
I haven't got the scientific proof right in front of me, but I'll put my neck on the block and say that there's been scientific proof that cannabis or cannabis-related products do help with certain cases, whether it's chronic pain.
Fairness, I don't vote.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't vote, Steve, because not one of them are worth a carrot.
No.
Not one of them have got a decent set of policies that mean anything to the people.
Yeah.
All of them are just a higgity-pokery fucking mumble-jumble bullshit, to be honest with you. They're just all out to just...
out for themselves,
yeah,
it seems.
Out for themselves.
Russell Brand was telling people not to vote because he also believed the same. He didn't believe there was anybody worth voting for.
Yeah.
And he got a real backlash of people because he's saying, what about the right to vote? And you've earned that right to vote, the suffragettes and the women and all the struggles they went through, and you're telling people not to vote. But you know what? It was a different time back then. There was leaders worth voting for. You had your Winston Churchill.
To be honest, that Russell Brand as well, funny enough, I sort of like what he does in a way, because I like that he's not bothered to basically say, no, I don't agree with all of this. Yeah, maybe he does things in a certain way that aren't too clever.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that he's not a sheep, and he's trying to open people's eyes to the crap that we've got to live through every day, these decisions that are getting made for us, and we're controlled, and we're going to end up off on a big conspiracy theory in a minute soon.
But yeah, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but the reason we went off on that tangent is I found out about the scientific block at Barcelona, and I'll be attending those to see what the science is saying, and just gathering more and more evidence on why the UK is so far behind. Australia now seems to be catching up. Many states in America
but obviously
are already...
we'll be coming soon, because we're the little idiot island that hasn't got the bollocks to make their own decisions. Really, we just follow suit of everybody else.
It gets used, doesn't it, as a political point. So every single party in the last election said we will be tougher on drugs. In some instances, that's really good. For the harmful drugs, that's brilliant.
We need rules and regulations, we're not saying that.
But then you need to have a bit of a sensible head on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And they all use it as political point scoring, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's a bit mad. Anyway, we're not going to get into politics too much because it's a bit of a
because we hate politics,
subject.
That's what I mean. We just need to lynch all of the politicians, string a lot of them up, and then just let the people run the people.
The anarchists.
Yeah.
Back to Barcelona. I just nerded out, sorry about that.
And then we just went off on a
tangent.
Yes.
There's the international block that is run by Virginia Montañez. She's the moderator. Constanza Sanchez, Tom Blichman, and Coletta Youngers. The international block is obviously, as it sounds, people from all around the world, political scientists, journalists, social anthropologists, all kinds of people just talking about all sorts of issues regarding cannabis.
Yeah.
In Barcelona.
There will be a lot of cannabis around in Barcelona because it is legal in Barcelona.
Yeah.
They have, I think, 300 coffee shops / smoking associations where you can buy cannabis over the counter. You can view the cannabis on a menu.
You have to be a member, don't you?
Oh yeah, that's correct. You have to be introduced.
It is well regulated, isn't it? It's not just willy-nilly.
Oh no, there's not just cannabis in the street out of a dispensary machine. It's not like that. It's set locations which are approved by the council, government, whatever.
Membership cards,
yeah, they
IDs.
all have licences which have to be applied for. Set amount of members per club, regulated amount of cannabis.
Not allowed to consume out on the streets.
Yes.
And won't be allowed to drive.
No coffee shops are in a radius of any school children.
So what you're saying is basically just sensible.
Yeah, sounds like quite sensible stuff.
For the
policy.
For adults to make their own choices on what is right for them.
Strictly, I think it's only over 18s and over.
Yeah, 18s and over.
ID's got to be provided by every single person.
Quite similar to the way alcohol is in the UK.
Yeah.
You've got to be over 18. You go to, apart from it, bloody available everywhere.
Yeah, see where there's only so many locations allocated.
Yeah. And they've been verified and sanctioned and everything there is of good quality. Good way of doing it. What I'd be interested to see is...
And I think that's been running, I'm not too sure, I know, a couple of years now.
Got to be, yeah. I'd be quite interested to see the rate of crime in Barcelona.
Yeah, get some facts and figures.
Yeah, see whether it's reduced or increased. Yeah. And see what's happened with alcohol consumption, tobacco consumption, see if that's increased or decreased. Just little facts that
well, you'll never know unless you check out the research. You know, because it's all good and well going, oh, well, I think this is better because of this. It's opinions are only opinions. When you've actually got data, as you've showed me, Stephen, data with facts and figures at the end, then you're having accurate results.
Yeah. Well, somebody said something the other day, it was a scientist, Professor Cox, the lad from Manchester, COX, before you give me that look.
Okay.
And you, Rick. This fella said that it's all right to have an opinion, but if your opinion influences others, then you should base your opinion on scientific facts. Like, it's all well and good to think that the world is flat.
It is though, isn't it?
No. Don't start, Thomas.
Yeah.
Listening to that bloody B.O.B. rapper. It's all right to think that the world is flat. You are entitled to your opinion. But if your opinion, as in B.O.B., who's an internationally renowned rapper, has a lot of influence over young minds, you've got to base your opinions on scientific facts. And obviously...
It's a bit like how politicians have a lot of influence on people nowadays, but they just throw opinions out left, right and centre with no facts whatsoever. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
nice way of putting it. So yeah, that's why we should all try and do our own research. Don't be led by media. Research, by the way, is not looking up what the BBC says or any newspaper. If your point of view is from a newspaper, I'd throw it out the window. Go and look at some research. If you're going to look at newspapers, look at 10 newspapers and put everything together as one, and then go and get some stats and figures from the government websites, proper statistics, so on and so forth. I'm not going to bore you, but do some research.
If you are one of them people who spends your time watching news at ITV News at 10 and BBC News and CNN for you guys, you know, you've got to understand it's all
doctored to lead you down a certain route.
It's all catered for your viewing preference.
Yeah. Well, we're starting to stray on to conspiracies again, aren't we?
Ooh, yeah.
Do you reckon we do
no
hydroponic conspiracies? I reckon we start that one for we have that in the future.
Oh, we'll get whisked out by the black bag man.
Yeah.
And we'll be never seen again. Being told tell our families we've been on a secret space mission.
So that's Barcelona. It's going to be really good event.
Very good.
Thomas has not stopped going on about it for weeks and weeks and weeks.
No, because it's a place with an open mind. It's a place where they've listened to the people, what's going on. There's a lot of interest in people all hiving there at one time. So it gives myself a excellent opportunity to speak to leading people in different sections of our industry and see what's going on in other countries and basically just go
see if we can influence what's going on in our country. We have our opinions, they are opinions, and before we finish the podcast, everything that we've talked about, we will be in Barcelona as NPK Live, as the radio podcast talk show. We now have international subscribers, so if you guys are thinking they've started touching on a subject that they maybe haven't spoke about much before, it's because our audience is growing. We have now more and more US subscribers, so we'd like to talk a little bit about what you guys are interested in. Australia, the Netherlands, Spain, Uruguay, I believe, is becoming more and more accepted. Jamaica. These are all countries that we have subscribers in, so we'd like to open up our minds to the international community. And that's why we've started picking up on subjects. But I would like to say, at the moment,
if anybody's offended by any of the subjects that we've discussed today,
unsubscribe.
I'm just thinking of something that you can do, because I don't really give a shit. Don't know, write us a letter.
We like letters. Send it in by pigeon.
Telling us why you feel offended, so I can just laugh me tits off while I'm sitting here drinking a cup of coffee.
And they're offended because the Daily Mail said that it causes schizophrenia and death when consumed with coffee. Bastards. If you listen to the Daily Mail, unsubscribe as well. Please.
Right now.
Are we going to leave it there?
I think so. We've ranted on enough about bits and bobs as usual. We start off just like trying to tell everyone that we're going to a lovely show in Spain, and then we end up cannabis conspiracy, world plot domination thing. So that's us. We're going to Barcelona, Spain. We'll be there. We'll be on stand 5 with Highlight Horticulture. We'll be doing some special interviews with some special people. If you are there, come along and say hi. If we've mentioned you in the past and you weren't too impressed, come along and
wag your finger at us and tell us off.
We'll like that as well.
Just come and say hello. I'm dying to meet all the people that message me through Facebook.
If any of you US listeners are there and you want to invite us to come to the US shows, please do so.
Thomas would love to come and visit us.
And
enjoy yourself. Have a relaxing Sunday afternoon, and we will be back next Sunday, and we will be in Barcelona.
And we will have some interesting things to talk about at Barcelona. We're going to blow the lid off this stuff once and for all now. We're going to speak to some highly educated people with some PhDs and stuff, and we're going to get some facts and figures on the elusive grey area.
Sounds interesting. Thank you for listening, guys. As always, really appreciate that you've tuned in and listened to us two boring scousers. Subscribe, share, do what you do to spread the word, and we will be back, as always, next week. See you soon.
Bye-bye.